And we're live.
Welcome to the CLE group chat. Today is September 23rd, 2017, and my name's Joshua. With us, we have Jeannie from Australia, and from Indiana, we have Christopher, who started this ministry. And we're only allowing our church group on these videos, but you can still watch and use the chat box, or even share this video with family and friends to watch it with you live. And now if you're watching a recording and would like to watch it live and use the live chat box to chat with other viewers, make sure you've subscribed and click the bell, and that should notify you when we're live. So without further ado, an article from AL Alabama titled Nibiru, Planet X, and Biblical Prophecy. Will the World End? September 23rd, which is today. In the words of REM, it's the end of the world as we know it. Well, maybe, but probably not. The latest internet rumor has a rogue planet dubbed either Nibiru or Planet X striking the Earth on September 23rd, wiping out all of mankind. It's not the first time Nibiru has made its appearance in the world of online conspiracies, though it's gained such traction this time that even the U.S. space agency NASA addressed the issue. Various people are predicting the world will end September 23rd, 2017, when another planet collides with Earth. The planet in question, Nibiru, doesn't exist, so there will be no collision, NASA said in a statement this week. The Nibiru Planet X Earth collision story first surfaced in 1995 and gets recycled occasionally into various apocalyptic tales, all of which NASA said are just internet hoaxes. There is no factual basis for these claims. If Nibiru or Planet X were real and headed for an encounter with the Earth, astronomers would have been tracking it for at least the past decade, and it would be visible by now to the naked eye. Obviously, it does not exist. So where does the rogue planet theory come from? The Telegraph traces its origins back to Wisconsin native Nancy Leader and her alien conspiracy website, Zeta Talk. Leader allegedly claimed aliens from the Zeta Reticuli star system warned her about Nibiru and its tracks towards Earth's destruction.
Well, if it came from Wisconsin, then they're probably dealing with what, like Central Time or something, so they still got 5 hours.
Yeah. The story was posted online, later shared by people such as Christian numerologist David Mead, and before you know it, it's everywhere. It gained additional traction when users pointed to end-time prophecy in the Bible.
Wait, a Christian numerologist? Numerology is part of the occult. So how can you have a Christian numerologist? That is an oxymoron. Or it's a contradiction in terms.
I wasn't aware of that. It continues. What's new this time, and why is the Bible involved? The biblical element of the September 23rd end of the world rumors comes from the alignment of the constellation Virgo. On that day, on Saturday, the sun will be in Virgo with the moon near the constellation's feet. Jupiter will be in Virgo, while the planets Venus, Mars, and Mercury will be close in the constellation Leo. Conspiracy theorists point to a verse in Revelation 12:1 in their efforts to prove the day will be cosmically significant. And I don't know what version they have in the article, but I'm just going to read it from the King James Bible. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, and she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. Proponents of the theories said the alignment, which comes a little more than a month after a total solar eclipse in North America, and we just had one a month ago, so I guess, signals the start of the end of days, 7 years of tribulation, or the rapture of Christian believers.
So no explanation. No, they just said, oh, it comes from Revelation 12.
Right.
Next.
They didn't give one in the article.
There's no explanation for that.
Nope.
You know, it's very common for a cult to select a verse when it cherry picks it, especially from Revelation, when they don't even understand the doctrines of Christ, let alone being able to go to Revelation. So if you don't have the Spirit of God, you can't interpret Revelation. And there are tons of people out there trying to interpret it that don't have the Spirit of God in them. They're false converts. And this is why there's so many dangerous doctrines out there, because they'll take a verse like this, which needs the Spirit of God to be understood in the first place. And some actual born-again Christians won't be able to understand it because God doesn't give it to them to interpret it, right? So, but then they'll just say, oh, there appeared a great wonder in heaven. See, it's true, we're right.
Yeah. As Earth Sky notes, however, the alignment of the constellations is not that unique in history. From the standpoint of astronomy, there's nothing unique or unusual about the sun, moon, and planets, or the constellation Virgo. On September 23, 2017, despite the claims of the internet of a unique and significant celestial event supposedly mirroring the Bible's Book of Revelation, astronomer Christopher M. Garney said, in the past 1,000 years, this same event has happened at least 4 times already. In 1827, 1483, 1293, and 1056. Now that's the end of the article. So there's no any more thoughts on it.
Well, Tanya points out Mark 13:32. She's pointing it out in the chat. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels which are in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father. So God only knows the day and the hour. Now, that is going to, all these people that think I'm going to predict the very day that's going to happen. No, you're not. However, we do know the season in which it's going to happen, and that's based on the signs given for the final years of this earth. We're given a number of signs to look out for. However, and I just want to make mention of this. I guess we go to, was it Second Thessalonians chapter 2? Is that the one? Yeah, just to make sure all the pre-tribbers, because some of them buy into this junk and others of them don't, because they're like, oh no, we're going to be raptured out before any of that destruction happens. Wait, because just to make sure we're clear on this with them, Paul rebuked the church of Thessalonica for believing that exact same thing, that Christ was coming back at any moment. Because he says, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and by our gathering together unto him. He's talking about when he would return and gather together his saints. He says that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit or by word, nor by letter as from us, as that day of Christ is at hand. Now, to say at hand means it's coming at any moment. Like it could be weeks or months or just years in the future. Just it's coming right around the corner, because that's what they keep teaching. And that's, by the way, that's only been taught, but it was started really by the charismatic church, and they got it from the Catholics. It's a long story. We go back, and there's an article we had. Just type in the word trib, T-R-I-B, into the search bar at creationliberty.com, and it'll talk more about that if you want to know more about those details. But Paul continues and says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. Now, I don't care if they're given a date or they believe in the pre-trib false prophecy nonsense. It doesn't matter. It says, let no man deceive you by any means. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So Christians will see the final Antichrist is going to stand in the temple, because in verse 4 it says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So there's going to be a temple of God rebuilt, and that final Antichrist, that son of perdition, is going to be sitting in it. Now, this is something that Christians will see. And the time of the end is not going to come before those days, before people see that happening. So this is just something that Jesus Christ gave us all the little mile markers we need to see of the signs of his coming. And we're going to know the rough season it's going to come. We'll know when it's about to come. And then the Christian church will start preaching, it's coming, it's right around the corner. Of course, at the same time, we're going to be slaughtered in the streets during those days. So you'll know that's coming. But so it'll be pretty obvious then. But until then, there's no need to get up in arms about about this stuff, or start selling everything you own and maxing out your credit cards and go stand on a mountain and say, God, take me, because it's not going to happen, period. But again, people are going to just allow themselves to be deceived. It's willful ignorance. God calls people. How do you know? Well, Chris, how do you know all these things? Not by my own knowledge, by the knowledge of the Spirit of God that was given me by the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, because I repented I was born again by the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ that paid the account for my sin. That's when God gave me his Spirit to understand certain things like this. And it took a lot of time and study. And because the Bible says, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So that way we understand it properly and we don't jump around giving all these false dates and this nonsense. So if you want to know what's going to happen in the end, the first thing you need to know is the law of God and repent. That's what the Bible teaches. I guess I'd add one thing. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom and understanding and knowledge, the Bible says. So this man will I look to, God says, and that trembleth at my word. The man that trembles at his word, that fears him, that repents.
The next article is from The Independent, titled Hackers Targeted Election Voting Systems in 21 States, U.S. Government Reveals. Hackers attempted to disrupt election systems in 21 of 50 American states during last year's election, according to the federal government. While the attempts almost all failed, the wave of attackers nevertheless highlighted how America's election systems are targeted for disruption at a time when intelligence agencies concluded Russia launched a wide-range election meddling campaign. The government said last year that more than 20 states were targeted by hackers believed to be Russian agents before the 2016 elections, but for many states, the calls of Friday from the Department of Homeland Security were the first official confirmation of whether the states were on the list. Among those targeted were Alabama, Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, Minnesota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. The government did not say who was behind the hacking attempts or provide details about what had been sought. But election officials in 3 states said on Friday the attempts could be linked to Russia. The Wisconsin Election Commission, for example, said the state's systems were targeted by Russian government cyber actors. Federal officials said that in most of the 21 states, the targeting was preparatory activities such as scanning computer systems. The targets included voter registration systems, but not vote tallying software. Officials said there were Officials said there were some attempts to compromise networks, but most were unsuccessful. Only Illinois reported that hackers had succeeded in breaching its voter systems. Colorado said the hacking was not quite a breach. It's really a reconnaissance by a bad guy to try and figure out how we would break into your computer, said Trevor Timmons, a spokesman for the Colorado Secretary of State's office. It's not an attack. I wouldn't call it a probe. It's not a breach. It's not a penetration. The disclosure to the states comes as a special counsel probes whether there was any coordination during the 2016 presidential campaign between Russia and associates of Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, a Republican who defeated Democrat Hillary Clinton in the presidential election, has called the Russia story a hoax. He says President Vladimir Putin vehemently denied the conclusions of American intelligence agencies. End of article.
Okay, so, well, first of all, because a Russian leader denies it, that must mean it's not true. Because no one ever lies, number one. Number two, the story is a distraction. I think it's a load of garbage. Because what they're doing is, how do I put this? It's not that hacking is still not done. Okay, it's still a problem. There's still protection software and all sorts of stuff to protect you, like your personal information, your bank accounts, and all that. I had somebody hack into one of my accounts from some online purchase thing that I made a couple of years ago. And the bank that I had it's a local bank. They're really good about that. They contacted me immediately when they saw it, because they said, we see you live in Indiana and the purchase was made in Kentucky. Did you make that purchase? I said, no. And so they cut that off and shut it off real fast. So it's that kind of thing that still does happen. And so we have to be careful. And I think if people wondered why it happened, it could have been a variety of things. But one of the things I noticed is that the site I was using, I didn't realize I was using an old password that was much shorter. And I use a much longer and more complex one now. So, or a variety of them actually is what I use. So it's, with that, if you use more complex ones, it's a lot easier to do. And I guess while I'm at it, I can give people the advice that I've given our church. I think it's, like I said, I usually don't like handing out advice, but for this kind of stuff, people typically don't write me and ask me, how can I make my stuff more secure? Well, I'm just going to tell you, one of the things you can do with passwords, and I encourage Christians to do, is use Bible verses. It helps not only because your password is something you have to remember and you use for constant verification for things. And so when you're typing it in constantly, you have to have it memorized. Using Bible verses, using your favorite Bible verses is some of the best ways to do that. So what you can do is, I guess, well, I guess I could give some examples. Like we were just reading from, what was it? Tanya was quoting from Mark 13:32, because it says, "But of that day and hour no man knoweth no man, nor the angels were in heaven, but not the Son, but the Father." So you could just type in, let's pick two keywords out of there. You could pick in hour knoweth. We could say that. So you type in the word hour knoweth, all together, no spaces. Then you type in capital M-A-R-K for Mark 13:32. And so now what you're doing is you're memorizing a particular phrase that you can type into, say, a King James Bible search engine, hour knoweth. And when you do that, you'll come up with Mark 13:32. But then you're already going to have it memorized to know that that's what that scripture is. So you could use any of your favorite verses, some particular verse you like in the Bible, pick out a couple keywords, write them in, and then use the actual capitalization of the book or abbreviation or whatever it is, and then type in the number with it. You're going to have your numbers, your capitals, your lower cases, and your special symbol, which would be the colon. You're going to have that all in there together. And so it's going to be the highest security type of password you can actually create. So a lot of people, I was just advising Christians, you can do that to protect against that stuff. But the hacking thing, the problem is that it's not that people haven't experienced it, but people are not worried about it. See, back when, when was it? I'm trying to think. It's about 15 years ago is when, 15 to 20 is typically when people were really worried about hackers. This was the conversion period. And some of you who are, only maybe like 20 years old or so, you're not gonna much remember this. But this was back a long time ago when people were scared to make online purchases with anything. And there was this big scare over the internet, and everybody, they're like, oh, I don't want to give my credit card information on the internet. Hackers will take it. But what they would do is go to a restaurant, hand their credit card to a waiter who would disappear behind a curtain, and he would swipe it into a machine and type in numbers. And guess where those numbers went? To the internet. But because it was a waiter and he did it behind a curtain, therefore it wasn't the internet, and it wasn't a scary thing, right? But you see, that's the thing, is a lot of this stuff, the internet was being used for that stuff long before people started making personal at-home purchases. It's just economically, it wasn't viable until that time for people to start introducing personal purchases, because the biggest thing was shipping. Shipping was a huge thing. It was way too expensive for companies to ship individually to different households and all that. And over time, as people more and more started to use online methods, they started saving money, people purchasing things in bulk, shipping costs got lower and lower, until now, a lot of places you can get free shipping. Oh, if you purchase and order $25 above, you get free shipping, things like that. So free shipping is a big thing. People find that all the time. And if not, it's really actually quite inexpensive. So, but back then, that was a big issue. Today, it's not that big of an issue. People do this stuff all the time. There's security stuff all the time. And so now what they're doing is they're taking this voting thing and they're leaving it up to hackers. They're saying, okay, the hackers are the danger. It's these Russian hackers that are left over from the Cold War from the 1950s. I'm not saying there's not Russian spies and things like that. That still doesn't exist. I'm not saying that, okay? I'm simply saying that what they're doing is focusing on the wrong thing. Because I'm trying to get people to understand that it doesn't take a hacker connected to some network in a building that happens to be connected to the internet, and then they can hack it and do all that stuff. Certainly somebody could. But what I'm saying is that it's unnecessary. It is absolutely unnecessary. And that's been proven many times in the past. The problem is that in order to fix the problem completely, you have to go back to handwritten ballots, which they don't want to do, because if you go back to handwritten ballots, it's harder to rig the process. What's easiest to do is simply pay the programmer. The programmer makes a program, and back when I did a teaching called Should Christians Vote? If you type in VOTE into the search bar at creationliberty.com, you can learn more details about that. I've got an audio teaching. It's like a 2-part audio teaching going along with the article. You can read all that stuff about it. And I talk about this issue. Look, I took programming classes in college, even though I taught myself programming, then took them in college and basically got straight A's because I already knew what I was doing. So I didn't really learn it in college. I actually learned it myself, and then kept teaching myself stuff. But I can tell you, back when I used to program in Visual Basic and all that, I could write a very simple voting program. I could write one and rig the whole process. It's actually really easy. If you know how variables work in programs, and how the functions work, it is so simple to write a program that can rig an election. I mean, a person like me that's not even familiar with Visual Basic anymore could likely do it. I could just brush up on it and probably make you one in less than 10 minutes. So, and they pay these guys millions of dollars. But there are, in that article, if you go look at that, I think I recommended some documentaries and stuff like that you can watch and get more details about. This has been proven. This has already been done. In fact, the state of California, there was lawsuits that came out against the company, which was named Diebold. And Diebold had been proven that not only had they, oopsie daisy, accidentally let out their entire software, they left their servers unprotected, and a mother, it was one of these, basically like a soccer mom, happened to find it when she was researching voting, downloaded it, and she says, I have no idea what I just downloaded. But that's the company that our state hired to do that. And so she knew a friend of hers that was really into computers, and she said, can you make sense of this? And he said, whoa, this is the entire software for Diebold. And they went over it and found out that the entire thing was rigged. They rigged the election in California, and it likely wasn't just California, as many states where they made these things at. And there was a lawsuit that came against them for millions of dollars they had to pay, and yet they still are making software that for states, for their voting machines. It's never changed. Nobody got fired, nobody got kicked out, nothing. They're still developing them. It just nobody cares, nobody does anything about it. So I mean, they continually just keep rigging these elections like this, and it's done through the software. You don't have to hack it, even though there are people, I've seen news reports where they've shown them, look, you can hack these things from remote control. I can show you how it's done and blah, blah. Yeah, perhaps they can do that, but it's unnecessary. Again, people don't understand. You have to go back to the source code, and you can't go to the source code because states actually protect the companies that do this. There are federal and state laws that prevent anyone, including the states who hire them, the states who pay for the software. The members of the states are not allowed to even have any experts analyze it for them. They actually protect it. So we can't even see the code to make sure that nothing deceitful is being done behind the scenes. And then they want to say here, well, let's debate about hackers, because that's the real scary thing we have to look at. No, you're not going to the source. The hackers don't need to worry about this stuff, and that's my point. So that's why, I'm sorry, that's a long roundabout way of explaining to people that the whole thing, that entire article, I was just like, yawn, and not because of any insult to Josh. I mean, it wasn't wrong for him to pull it up and read that. Don't misunderstand. I don't want to insult him in any way. I'm just saying yawn because it's not relevant. That's all.
Our next article is from the Newsbusters, titled Superman Saves Illegal Immigrants from Armed White Man in New Comic. Superman, who is also known as the Man of Steel, has been fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. Since he was created by writer Jerry Siegel and artist Joe Shuster, high school students living in Cleveland, Ohio in 1933, the iconic superhero debuted in Action Comics #1, which was cover dated June 1938. Cut to Action Comics 987, which was released on Wednesday in the first part of an adventure titled The Oz Effect. A mysterious force is causing people to give in to their baser instincts, including a white supremacist who attacked Spanish-speaking illegal immigrants for taking his job, which they stole from me and ruined me. Just in the nick of time, Superman puts himself between the gunman who is wearing an American flag bandana and the immigrants, one of whom responded to the rescue by saying gracias a Dios, or thank God. The Man of Steel then told the attacker, stop this, and added the only person responsible for the blackness smothering your soul is you. The police arrive and the superhero handed over the gunman before telling the officers to make sure the victims are safe and cared for. An officer replied, anything you say, Superman. The incident led The Hollywood Reporter senior writer Ryan Parker to post an article entitled, Superman Protects Undocumented Workers from Armed White Supremacists in Latest Comic. Parker began by stating, the moment in the book released Wednesday comes a week after President Trump ended DACA. The acronym stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which allowed some individuals who entered the country illegally as minors to receive a renewable 2-year period of deferred action from deportation and to be eligible for a work permit. Perhaps it is just a coincidence, but perhaps not, he stated. The moment comes just 1 week after President Donald Trump made the controversial announcement that he was ending the policy put in place by former President Barack Obama. Parker continued, he, Donald Trump, then gave Congress a window to save the program. Still, the decision was decried by politicians, civil groups, and celebrities alike. He added, nearly 800,000 individuals known as Dreamers have received protection to stay in the country through the program. In addition to the DACA announcement, Parker noted Trump was also slammed for comments he made just a few weeks prior when he appeared to be defending a group of white nationalists holding a rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, at which one protector to the rally was killed and numerous others injured. Obviously, Parker is totally unaware regarding the process of producing comics, which takes months from writing the story, having it drawn by artists and colorists, and finally going to the printing press in time to hit the stands at the designated date. As a result, there is no chance that anything in the issue reflected something President Trump or anything else, or anyone else for that matter, said days or a few weeks before the comic's release. In addition, the reporter failed to read the rest of the issue, in which Superman helped sort out many other trouble spots around the world. They included halting prisoners in the middle of a jailbreak, stopping an arsonist from burning down a mansion owned by a 1%er because they deserve to suffer, and preventing the death of a rhinoceros by poachers who wanted the animal's horn. But he was unable to rescue a village that was burned to the ground by people from the same country. The comic, which was reviewed by CBR.com's Jim Johnson as a refreshing issue reminder of readers of Superman's altruistic nature, with both twists large and small that put a new spin on the Man of Steel's mythos, was written by Dan Jorgens, drawn by artist Jay Liston, Jonathan Glapian, Victor Bogdanovic, colored by Mike Spicer, lettered by Rob Lay, and published by DC Comics. Jorgens and Bonovic give readers the Superman that they've known for decades, the extraordinary hero dedicated to helping anyone he can on his adopted home world, Johnson stated. Whether it's delivering the proverbial medicine to sick children, saving the animals, or stopping racial prejudice, Jurgens delivers the iconic Superman who has served as a superhero template for generations, Johnson added. Bogdanovic, in turn, renders Superman who's both comforting and awe-inspiring to the good guys while decidedly threatening and intimidating the bad, he noted. Hopefully the next time Parker decides to review anything from a comic to another form of entertainment, he will take in the entire experience instead of focusing on just one controversial segment and shoehorning that to fit events in his political viewpoint. That's the end of that article. Any thoughts on that one? All right, then there's another one here.
I didn't understand it.
Oh.
I literally understood none of it. I'm sorry.
Well, basically, they made a comic where Superman defends illegal immigrants, and it supposedly portrays a liberal side of allowing illegals to stay in the country. And people it's very controversial because Donald Trump recently ended just last week some policy that allowed some illegals to stay here that were minors. So anyway, they're saying like, oh, the comic books, it's propaganda. They're trying to brainwash the children is what some other versions of the article.
Comics have been brainwashing children since they were first created. This is nothing new. I mean, the guys who made the Superman comics to begin with were atheists or pagans or I don't know, because you can't hardly tell half the time. They do all this alien garbage and all this superpower junk. What's the difference between that and witchcraft and sorcery? In fact, a lot of the superheroes they make are witches and sorcerers. There's I think DC Comics, don't they have a superhero called Alakazam or something like that, or Kazam or something like that? I don't remember what it was or what his name is or something like that. I think, or is it Black Adam? Is that, if I'm remembering the names right? This is from a long time ago, and this is only blips of things. I've never actually seen them. This is blips of stuff I've heard over the years. They have that stuff, and in fact, the DC Comics, they have a whole thing of superpowers versus magic, which is the witchcraft stuff, and then they have like the Marvel Comics, they have Doctor Strange. That's all witchcraft and mysticism and going through the astral plane stuff. That's all demonic. That's of the devil. These guys, they don't care. They've been brainwashing children the whole time. So we're going to make a big deal because they make one about immigrants. Who cares? Who cares? The kind of people that read those comic books have no influence over politics in the first place. So it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's another article here. It says, here, Pep the Frog creator fights far right by donating book profits to Muslim American advocacy. All profits from the adventures of Pep and Pete, a children's book concerning the popular white supremacist symbol Pep the Frog, will go towards the Muslim American advocacy group. The illustrator.
Saying that you mean the money they're making is going towards this advocacy group. They're not sending like Muhammad the Prophet to the advocacy group, right?
Well, like from the way it's
Prophet, Profit, profit, right?
Oh,
profits.
Right, yeah, it's money, yeah. The illustrator behind the meme, Matt Furry, won a legal battle against the book's creator, a Texan assistant principal named Eric Hauser, who admitted copyright infringement according to Motherboard. According to the Washington Post, The Adventures of Pep and Pete attempts to concern itself with the universal themes of friendship, teamwork, and honesty. However, Hauser's book contains utterly worrying messages that Furry describes as espousing racist, Islamophobic, and hate-filled themes.
Wait, what were the positive themes you said they were spreading? What were those 3 words?
I'll go back here. It says, my bad. Right.
Just the previous sentence.
Right. All right. However, Hauser's book contains utterly worrying messages. Oh,
the three words.
According to the Washington Post,
friendship and what else?
Yeah, friendship, teamwork, and honesty.
Well, friendship, teamwork, and honesty can exist when you're blowing up Jews. Can it? I mean, you're saying, okay, here's the time where we're going to blow them up, and here's the school bus of Jewish children we're going to blow up. I mean, they're being honest, right? That's what they're going to do. I mean, they're friends together. They're locked arm in arm while they go do it, thinking they're going to heaven. They're going to get all their 72 virgin wives, and then and teamwork. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, but I think I've got the videos, or I thought I remember publishing those on the Islam article. If you go to creationliberty.com and type in the search bar Islam, ISLAM, and you get the article. It's called Islam, a Religion of Terror. And I'm pretty sure I had a video on there that shows children in this is in the Middle East Muslim countries. They have children's shows over there just like we do over here, except they teach them jihad from like when they've got 5-year-olds on there singing songs to slay the non-believers and to bathe themselves in blood. They're singing their children's songs about this stuff. So why people are all up in arms? Oh no, there's a cartoon character that's going to be teaching these people jihad. Wait, this has been going on for decades. Why do they think this is all these people? Oh, this is brand new stuff. Breaking news right here. No, it's not. This has been going on for a long time.
The article continues. The adventure takes place on a farm.
Because of the cartoon focuses on white people instead of radical Muslims or black people, then it's wrong. Then it's evil.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at it right now on the website. I do have the video on there, and I'm not going to probably, I'm not going to play it because I don't know how the audio would come through here for you. But it's got a bunch of children here singing these songs, and I'm trying to find. Here, yeah, here we go. It's got a little girl. I would say she's probably 6 or 7 maximum. And here's what she's singing. She's got her pretty dress on and got her little party hat they made or whatever for the show. And it says, "Oh, my sister, sing constantly about my life as a suicide warrior. Each and every part of your soil I have drenched with all my blood." That's what they're singing on this children's show. If you want to see the details of that and you want to investigate more of that, again, go to our website and go to that article. Just type in Islam in there and you can read all about that. I document all the stuff directly from their international Quran that's used worldwide. I document exactly what it says, showing exactly what their imams and everything have said, where people say, no, Islam's a religion of peace. I document everything. Go take a look at it for yourself and find out the truth, because this stuff has been going on for a long time.
The article continues. The adventure takes place on a farm called Washington. The antagonist, a bearded alligator named Alka. They're also Cuffy, Cliff, and the main character's friend is a centipede. Centipedes being a nickname given to Trump's Reddit fan base. Most obvious, though, is the main character, a smiling frog named Pep. The cartoon frog, as anyone who looks at Donald Trump's Twitter mentions can tell you, has become a popular white nationalist symbol, even featuring on the Anti-Defamation League's database of hate symbols. Thanks to the legal victory, no further copies of The Adventures of Pep and Pede may be sold, and the $1,521 profit made must be donated to the Council on American Islamic Relations. Furry has been vocally disapproving of the character's appropriation, previously saying it's a nightmare, and the only thing I can do is see this as an opportunity to speak out against hate. Pep the Frog first appeared in the comic Boys Club back in 2005, illustrated by Fury. Earlier this year, Fury released a one-page special comic for Free Comic Book Day with Pep.
It's funny that Peppy the Frog and all these are being targeted because as I said, they're promoting. They're not actually promoting hate. They're promoting nationalists, and they're for. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. Because they're not promoting an ideal that is politically correct and targeting the wrong group, then yeah, they're it's all right for all these other people to have hate groups, and they're not racist. Black Lives Matter are not racist, and the feminazis are not sexist, and all of this. They're because they're promoting white people and nationalism rather than globalism. Yeah, they're being targeted. I mean, they're evil because they're not promoting the mainstream agenda.
And the article finishes with, earlier this year, Fury released a one-page special comic for Free Comic Book Day where Pep was killed off. End of article. But if there's no more thoughts, I'll go to the next article.
Pep was killed off, and he took a bunch of other cartoon characters with him in his suicide bombing.
Ancient frogs might have eaten dinosaurs. In the past, ancient frogs might have snacked on dinosaurs. Popular Science reports that there was once a giant frog that walked the earth called Belzebufu Pinga, named after an ancient deity referred to as Lord of the Flies. The massive amphibian is thought to have lived in Madagascar around 70 million years ago. The beach ball-sized frog has jaws that are powerful enough to obliterate small dinosaurs. Scientists first discovered the frog in 2008 and speculated that it might have used its powerful mouth to dine on small vertebrates. Now they found proof by calculating the jaw force of one of the frog's modern relatives. They were able to determine that Belzebufu Pinga's bite would have been comparable to the bite of a lion. While we might all equate frogs with being fly eaters, many species of frogs will actually eat anything that can fit in their mouth, including rodents, and perhaps in this ancient case, dinosaurs. That means they'd definitely be strong enough to chow down on some smaller dinosaurs.
This frog, over millions of years of evolution, eventually came to do comedy and to date a pig who wears dresses.
Well, that was the end of that article, and our last one for the day. So if there's no more thoughts, I suppose that will close out. Then thank you everybody who has joined us here today. If you would like to comment on this video or read comments, you can click the link in the description, which takes you to the forum, and you can even join us on the forum and have discussions with us. Just make sure to introduce yourself on the Introduce Yourself section, and Lord willing, we're going to see you next week.